Hey there, I want to talk to you about this thing called culturally responsive teaching and learning. It's a simple thing that is being distorted all over the internet. So let me explain. And I want to explain it using the words of Gloria Ladison Billings, who is, after all, one of the key scholars in introducing this concept. So here's what's important to understand. There are three elements to culturally responsive teaching and learning. Number one, you got to focus on student learning. What that means is you're not doing culturally responsive teaching and learning if the students in your class cannot read, write, think, analyze, and compute at high levels. So you must focus on the whole idea of learning. Number two, you have to make sure your students are competence from a cultural standpoint. What that means is Black students need to see themselves in the learning process. They need to understand the role that their culture has played in the development of America. But they also need to understand the cultures that other people have played. Because in essence, if you are a culturally responsive person or a culturally educated person or a culturally competent person, it means that you understand the role that culture, the ways that you do things. That's what culture is. The way you drink, the way you dress, the way you walk, the way you talk, all those things make up culture. Black people have a special way of doing all of those things, but other cultures do as well. So a culturally competent person would understand not only their culture, but other people's culture as well, and how those things interact in America. The third thing that's very important, according to Gloria, and I agree with her, is that our students have to be critical thinkers. They have to understand what is it that's going on in the society in which I live in? What's going on politically? What's going on from a social standpoint? What's going on economically? They have to be able to think critically. It's like what Paulo Freire said. The purpose of education is really to prepare young people so that they can engage in the practice of freedom, meaning that they can get involved in transforming their world. So that if you are actually going to practice culturally responsive teaching and learning, you will focus on student learning, you will make sure that your students are culturally competent, and you will make sure that they are critical thinkers when it comes to the society in which they live. If you only do one of those, if you only drag out pictures of Black people once a week or once a month, that is not culturally responsive teaching and learning. If you don't have your students understanding other people's culture, if you're not making sure your students are able to understand what's going on in their surroundings politically and economically and socially, and if they can't read, write, and think and analyze at high levels, you're not engaged in culturally responsive teaching and learning. So let's be real about what this means. Let's get rid of or not buy into all of the bogus stuff that's out there about what it really means. Listen to the person who's been very responsible for that language coming into the education space. You have to make sure that our kids are competent learning-wise. That means they have to read, write, think, analyze, and compute at high levels. They have to understand their culture and the role that their culture has played in the development of America, but they have to understand other cultures as well. And finally, they have to be able to think critically about how to transform their world, how to understand the politics, how to understand the economics, how to understand all of these things that make up our world. Only if you do all three of those things are you engaged in culturally responsive teaching and learning. Thank you.